What is up, everybody? Welcome to Streamer Square, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Streams with your hosts, Karli and Wes. If y'all are not familiar with me, I'm an animator in Los Angeles, California. I usually stream art and animation, and I teach both of those things on my stream. I am a retake animator right now for Bless the Hearts on Fox, and I moderate for Loco. Pretty sick stuff. Let's go ahead and introduce Wes, and then our wonderful guest today.
Well, hello, I'm Wes, or Wes Sisa. You can find me moderating for Lucid Fox in the morning. You're going to see me in Loco throughout most of the afternoon. And then whenever they're live, you will generally see me right here on Streamer Square as a moderator. Also, I am a co-host of this show right here. So you'll see me here once every couple weeks or so. Today, we've got a really exciting topic, and we've got someone fantastic here to talk about it with y'all. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest today, Billymfmays.
Hey, Billymfmays here with a fantastic offer. No.
I was hoping you would do that.
But yeah, I've been a moderator for 3 partnered streamers. We have Simcopter1, Fruit Bats, and Cleve. And also former moderator of Applejack. That goes back 6 years. I've been a community organizer and a meetup organizer for Bay Area Live and the San Francisco Twitch community meetup here in the beautiful SF Bay area. And I also stream on Twitch for, when I'm not disassociating, it's
relatable. Oh my gosh.
But I stream on Twitch during the late evenings, and I play RPGs, roguelikes, Souls-likes, and Metroidvanias.
Nice. So
That's awesome.
Much, you just do it all, and you're awesome.
Thank you.
Those are some of my favorite games too. I'm legit excited to check out your stream.
Oh.
But today we are talking about LGBTQIA plus and moderating. What does this mean as a moderator? We've realized that in the past, it's just been a couple years that this has started to become a more normal and more prevalent thing on Twitch. We've had pride emotes for, I think, 2 years running now. We've got the LGBTQIA plus tag now. Basically, they're becoming more accepted and more widespread on the platform, which is something that we love to see.
So nice.
It's amazing. So we're gonna talk about some of the unique challenges that come with that, some of the awesome opportunities that we have to teach people and to learn more, and we're gonna talk about the high and low points of being a moderator in one of those channels, whether you are LGBTQIA plus yourself or you're moderating for a channel that uses that tag or a streamer that falls into that category. So, let's start with the basics. What's everybody's relation to queerness in Twitch? Billy, let's start with you.
Yeah, we're putting you right on the spot.
Yeah, get right into it.
Well, I'm pansexual. I realized it when I was 15. I kind of came out shortly after that, and one thing with my background was that, it's not when you kind of come out as, at the time I thought it was bi because I only knew of 4 categories at that point, just LGBT, and didn't know about pansexuality. So it was just, I was bisexual. And then I didn't get the, oh, that's great. I got the, so what does that mean? Like you just go between either or, like, oh, I guess that's fine. Whatever. You're basically the same. It's like, it's kind of like, you're kind of being denied in a way where it's like, yeah, they're just pretending like I'm straight because
you're straight
it's easy
enough.
for them. Yeah, basically. And it kind of made me a little bit more, it made me conceal a lot of that because nobody accepted it. And Twitch honestly helped me kind of accept it more, where people weren't just thinking, oh yeah, you're passing for straight. That's fine. It was a case of like, no, the communities that I'm involved in, the people that I meet, they actually accept that part of me, and it's helped me tremendously.
That's so awesome. Oh my gosh.
It's
That's
so awesome.
heartwarming.
What a good start.
Yeah, right. I guess I'll go next. So I'm non-binary, and I didn't even know until like maybe 3 years ago, because I had no idea like that being non-binary was even a thing. And then I saw a comic from an artist that I followed about how the moment that they realized that they were trans, and then they also did an informative comic on what it means to be non-binary, and I was reading this thing like, oh my gosh, that's me. So much of my life suddenly made sense. So I ended up coming out to my then fiance, and he didn't care. It's just like whatever. And came out to the mod team and came out to my parents on Pride Month this year. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, so it's all kind of new for me. I'm still getting adjusted to things.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. As for me, it's actually very similar. It was being introduced to and part of a lot of communities on Twitch that helped me realize who I've always been. Like, I never really felt like a cis hetero dude, but that's always like been good enough or like passing for me. So I was like, oh, okay. But then, kind of like you both said, I was introduced to communities and areas where I'm like, oh, wait, it's okay to be something else. And I never really thought about it or looked into it. And, you know, here we are a couple years later, and I'm a non-binary person that doesn't really know what their sexuality is. I'm still figuring that all out.
Same.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, at first I was kind of like Billy, where I was like, oh yeah, I'm bi. And then I, did some more reading and kept looking, and I was like, maybe I'm not just bi. Maybe there's something more there. But that's a journey I'm on. And I will say it's been amazing to be in communities on Twitch, and I've modded for communities on Twitch, for streamers who use that LGBTQIA plus tag. They're very open to that type of conversation in their chat, and it's been incredibly eye-opening, and having that space to have those discussions and do that self-discovery has just been, it's been one of the greatest thing I've gotten out of being on Twitch.
Yeah. That's so great, Wes. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you.
I've come a long way.
Yeah.
It's a journey, honestly.
It is. I was going to ask Billy before we really dove into the Twitch aspect of this show. I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there who don't really understand the difference between pansexuality and bisexuality, and how they're both equally valid sexualities. Pansexuality or bisexuality can both be an umbrella for different things, just like non-binary can be an umbrella. So I guess if you're comfortable talking about it, what does being pansexual mean to you?
It means not really having a boundary when it comes to gender at all. With bisexuality, it's more of just being open that you can be attracted to more than just the opposite gender.
Mm-hmm.
But you might have limits. You might draw the line at. Yeah, I don't want to say draw the line, but you might not be attracted to non-binary or trans, or you might be attracted to them, but not men or women. With pansexuality, it's everything. Like
Yeah.
you're not really looking for, or it's just not a factor, or rather, it's it's still a factor, because it's not like, oh yeah, it's asexual, but it's just kind of hard to explain sometimes. But
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, you're just open to it, and you love who you love. That's kind of the crux of it.
Exactly.
So.
Thank you so much for sharing. Wes, do you want to take us away with the questions now that we've kind of established ourselves?
Yeah, this is one that I'm actually curious about, because Karli, you just said that you came out to the mod team, right?
Yeah.
And that was like part of your journey on Twitch, and it was part of mine too. I came out to the mod team before I came out to like anyone. Like my best friends, my parents, like they all found out after my closest mod team did. So I want to know from both of you, did you go into the mod team already out and knowing about your identity, or did you come out to the team later on down the line? And for Karli, who said you already said that you did come out later down the line, what was that like?
Do we start with me or?
Yeah,
Sure.
go for it, man.
Whoever
You're
wants to talk.
our luscious guest.
Well, I was already out before even Twitch existed, so like it was one of those, like, I just joined into a mod team or several, and it's just like, yeah, I'm already me. I'm already pansexual. I'm here to rock and roll. So and I've never felt like I had any friction or anybody being like, oh, but we don't. What's that? Or like, we can't have that. Like, nobody was like that. Everybody was very accepting when I just told them. Though I guess later on I can kind of talk about some of the earlier, because God, it's almost been 7 years at this point of moderating, but I can talk about like some of those earlier experiences too, where it gets a little hairier just in terms of interacting with the community.
Yeah, I mean, this is what this panel is about, so like, absolutely go for it.
All right, but I don't want to dedicate too much time, so Karli.
It's okay. Well, okay.
Hey, as much as you want.
Just throwing it back to me, I guess. But then I want to hear your story. Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of came out to my partner first, and then the mod team, and then my sisters, and my parents last.
The hierarchy.
Yeah, well, because like I didn't really super know. Like, I don't know if it was the same with y'all, but when I finally figured out what being non-binary was, I was like, oh, why does this apply to me? Like, I'm just gonna kind of like see if this is just a phase for me, And so I kept it to myself for like 5 or 6 months, and then I told my partner, Gangle, and he was like, okay, what does that mean? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm still figuring it out. And he was like, okay, I don't care. And I'm like, thanks. But then after about a year, I was like, after about 5 months, I came out to the mod team, and then it was like a year later when I came out to other people. So, I mean, the Twitch experience and the modding experience was part of that for me, just because, like Wes said, I mean, I met so many other people where it's just like, they don't give a shit. Like, it's just fine. You don't have to like pass as anything that you're not comfortable doing, and you could just kind of be you.
It super helps. Now, this is kind of an offshoot on that last one. I'm curious, were both of you attracted to streams because they were queer inclusive? Because I will say that even before I knew where I stood, I was always more attracted to and found myself more comfortable in communities that were like openly LGBTQIA friendly. Because that's just, I guess, always how I've been. And I always wanted other people to be comfortable. And I'm not sure if that was like me subconsciously going to communities that would accept me, a year or so down the line. But especially for you, Billy, you were already out before you got onto Twitch. So do you think that you gravitated? I mean, I'm sure you gravitated towards those communities, right?
Oh yeah, like I mean, I remember the age where communities that were anti-gay and anti-LGBT existed, and where you would go in there and it's a toxic sludge in the chat, and the streamer is just fine with it. So yeah, I definitely gravitated to those who were more accepting of it, and even a step up, not just the passive acceptance of like, yeah, that's fine, whatever, but like people who were actively encouraging, or who were gay or LGBTQIA plus streamers themselves. So yeah, it's honestly, it is a plus for me. It is, and it does factor into the streams I tend to watch.
Yeah, I was pretty much going to say the same thing. Like, I mean, it was just one of those things where ever since I was young, I mean, the LGBTQ community just like found me and adopted me. And I was like, oh man, I love this. I'm going to be such a good ally for y'all. I'm going to do this. And then like down the line, I was like, I was one of y'all the whole time, and you knew before I even knew. What the hell? Like, I would always get like adopted by more experienced queer people than me, and I would always be the first person that other people would come out to, and I just it was just one of those things where I was always like attracted to those inclusive communities because I don't know if it was subconscious, but I always just kind of felt more like I belonged in the LGBT community because they don't expect you to fit into a box, you know? And yeah, that's pretty much what I had to say.
And they accept you for who you are. Like, it's not, as you said, they don't. And as I said, with my experiences, people fitting me into their safe boxes, especially when I grew up in a more conservative area in California.
Relatable.
Yeah. So having just people just accept you like that, it felt a little strange at first, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But no, it's incredibly powerful.
Okay, so Karli, we've got actually a couple good questions from chat already.
Yes, like let's just throw out our questions and do the chat stuff.
Yeah, like we've got a list of questions and stuff to talk about. We can get back to that. I want to make sure that people are still here when their chat questions get answered because these are super interesting. So I'll read the first one and let y'all answer it. Long Name to Get Noticed said, it's kind of weird that we as a society have this need to put everything into categories, especially with content creators. Why do viewers need/want to know about a streamer's sexuality when it really does not affect them at all? Makes no sense to me. Super interesting question.
I love that question so much. And I feel like this is the perfect platform for that because ordinarily a question like that would immediately get shut down. But I mean, Long Name's been a loony for a while, and you know, it's not asked with malicious intent. So I would say let's just get in there.
Let's do it. I've got a response to this, but if anybody wants to jump in, please go for it.
I'll let you go first.
Oh wait, you're telling me to go first. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'll let you go first.
Okay. So I feel like it's very important. It's not important if a streamer does not want to disclose that. There are tons and tons of streamers who do not get into their gender or their sexuality on stream. That is totally fine. It doesn't need to be what your content is about, but it also creates such a space of growth and learning when you do have a content creator that is happy to talk about those things. They're glad to put that tag on their stream, and they're happy if you come in and you say, hey, I think I might be trans. Can I ask some questions here? I know several chats that use that LGBTQIA plus tag. The streamers themselves are LGBTQIA plus, and they welcome those questions. And to me, that is so important. It, like, you can see just from the stories of the people that we have on the show here today, having a space where you can ask questions, feel accepted before you ask the questions, you know it's going to be okay. And in this type of situation and this type of culture where coming out as non-binary or coming out as trans might be considered edgy or risque in a lot of circles. Trendy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's very important to have a place where someone will openly talk to you about that. And content creators who are open about their sexuality were actually a huge impetus and a huge catalyst in getting me to look into and try and understand my gender and sexuality. So while it's totally fine if somebody, like, you know, if someone doesn't want to talk about their sexuality and gender on stream, that's totally fine. But I also think there is a very, very good reason why people do talk about their sexuality and gender on stream. And if it's just for a couple people like me to find a place where I feel okay asking questions, then it's worth it, in my opinion. You know, it doesn't have to be for everybody.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, Twitch and other platforms like it, it's a creative space. Every stream is an expression of the broadcaster, and we draw that from life experiences and things that we go through. And yeah, being queer it shapes your life experiences. It's important to you. It isn't something that is just like, hey, I can make my content without ever inputting myself into it. There are some broadcasters that can do that. They can adopt a character, but generally when you make something like that or make anything, you can't really just remove yourself so easily. There's always going to be a part of you in every bit of creative work that you do. And yeah, if you're honest about who you are and to your audience, or you don't really just try to avoid talking about it, it helps the audience get to know you a little bit better and therefore your content a little bit better. And especially when it comes to the games that we play on Twitch, like, hey, what games do we actually like feel represent us, in a better way than what we've seen in the past, or games that we feel more comfortable playing because they're not overtly homophobic or
Yeah.
things like that. So yeah, it's one of those things to where it's kind of always important. Like it's never not important. It's what, and that applies to anything really, because it's part of you and you are important in that way. So.
Yeah. For me, I used to be in the same camp as like, why do people need to put labels on everything when a lot of this stuff ultimately doesn't matter? And then I realized, oh, I don't care about labels because I don't want to be put into the female girl box. It makes me very uncomfortable to immediately be perceived that way, to immediately get catcalled in the street. I mean, that's an entirely different thing, but because I am perceived as female sometimes and others I'm not. And it's less about labeling something and more about saying, hey, actually, there isn't just male and female. There isn't just, boy, girl. There's not just a dude and a chick that can be in love. I feel like this movement is very important, especially with labels, because we have put labels on things, like a lot of things, and you just don't realize it. So when people come out and say that there are different things than just heteronormativity, buzzword there, when you say that there are things different than that, then it's immediately it kind of stands out in that way. But I think it's super important just for people to kind of learn about why it's important not to immediately gender people when you see them, why it's important to use gender inclusive language, and why the simple things like that you do will make your closeted queer friends in possibly abusive situations feel safe, which is important.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's really against labels. We just want the right labels.
Yeah.
We want to, and we
Yeah.
don't want to be fit into a box that that we don't fit into, and we want people to accept who we are and how we identify ourselves. That's
Yeah.
it.
That is so important. And I'm glad you both brought that up, because the labeling thing, being labeled, is not a problem for me. It was a problem for me when people would look at me, see a beard, and say, oh, you're a man, and assume that I'm a straight man. So it's like, it's not about whether or not I'm being labeled. It's, are those labels correct? So it's like, yes, there is a label for everything, it seems like, but that's not out of a desire to put people into boxes. It's out of a desire to take people out of the larger boxes that they don't fit in. Because I've been placed in that larger box of straight male my entire life because I wear a beard and I've dated mostly females. So it's like, oh, he's a straight dude. And it's like, no, I don't like that. So I'm so glad you both brought that up. Those are amazing points. I guess moving on to a little bit of mix of personal and professional life in modding. If you're in a stream, and actually, Billy, tell us when I'm done with this question. I'm going to throw it over to you like we always do. But do you mod for any streams that use the LGBTQIA plus tag? And if you mod for streams that don't use that tag or don't make that a prevalent point of the stream, are there still challenges that you face as a queer mod?
So to answer the first question, no, I don't mod for any channels that use the tag or don't identify as LGBT QIA plus, but there's still some challenges. This, kind of alluding back to what I was saying about stories. When I first was when I became a moderator back in 2013 for an upcoming, soon to be partner channel that was heavy into Hearthstone streaming. I was kind of worried of like, hey, if I time somebody out, because we had no deletes back in the day, if I time somebody out because they were just using gay as a derogatory word, or they were just, saying words, your usual no homo stuff, like things that shouldn't really be said like that. Um, are you going to have a problem with that? Because it bothers me and it really shouldn't be on the platform. Um, Fortunately, I was very fortunate to where Applejack was, understanding of that and just let me, allow that to be a rule. One of the, to my knowledge, one of the first like positivity focused streamers at the time. Because it really wasn't common for that, because Twitch just wasn't that place yet. It was mainly gameplay first, and those communities tend to be smaller, but the partner requirements back then were like you have to have 500 concurrent viewers, and that was it. If you didn't meet that bar, you did not get partnership. So there wasn't a lot of like big voices for that kind of thing, so it's just early days. And that was one of the first challenges that I really, just because it's that, okay, as a moderator, am I allowed to make the right choices? Um, Even if the streamer doesn't fully understand why they're the right choices.
What a mood. I I feel like that's a very interesting, like that is something actually that leads directly into our next question. So I'm just going to jump into it because this is exactly one of the things that we wanted to talk about is, have you ever had to educate your streamer on certain aspects of your identity or identities that they should be respecting of, or about the LGBTQ community at all? So it sounds like you have had those interactions where you're like, okay, I know that no homo is wrong and what it implies, but that's just part of how this chat talks. So have you had to have that talk with the streamer to say, hey, this makes me uncomfortable?
Not too much. It's more of a case where usually they're already pretty understanding of it, or they're understanding enough to where we don't need to go into a deeper discussion about it. But it is more of a case of like, hey, is the meme of the day actually something that's going to be problematic? Let's kind of address that. There's, you know, that does exist even today, but for the most part, in the channels that I'm a part of, hasn't really been a problem. So
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I personally, again, going back to me being like kind of more inclined to find those LGBTQIA friendly streamers in the first place. But I have heard some kind of, I don't know if I want to call them horror stories, but situations where you can have a streamer where it's a very much a boys club of people that just aren't malicious but are ignorant about why some of these things aren't okay, and there have had to be talks between streamer and moderator. I think I have had maybe one or actually maybe just the maximum one situation where I had to go to my streamer and say like, hey, this isn't really appropriate. This isn't really okay to be saying or encouraging things like this. And for me, it was like super easy. They were just like, oh my God, yes, you're totally right. I can't believe I did that. It won't happen again. So I haven't had any harrowing experiences with that.
Yeah.
But Karli, I see you're having a conversation here in chat.
Let me answer my question first, Wes.
Oh my God, answer your question. I'm sorry. Take it away.
No, it's interesting, like modding for streamers that aren't in the LGBTQ community, because there are certain things that they might do or say that are inherently, I guess sometimes problematic without them meaning to. And so having those conversations is really important. Like a lot of the people, like a couple of the people that I stream for and a lot of the people whose channels I hang out in didn't even even know what non-binary was until I was like, yeah, no, I'm like not really a girl. And they're like, okay. But it's also important that your streamer knows these things, so that way when something homophobic gets deleted in chat or something transphobic gets deleted in chat, they know why something so seemingly innocuous would get deleted by your queer mod. So I think that's just very important.
And it's just important in general. Allow your mods, and just even if you're, whether they're queer or not, whether you have a stream in the I don't know why I keep saying two. It's a weird stutter. LGBTQIA plus tag. Allow them to make decisions without questioning them. Like, don't have them be like, oh, I have to get your approval before I delete a word. Like, no, just let them do it. If you have a problem with it, talk to them after the stream. But it's usually better to be a little bit more liberal with timeouts and deletions than it is to not do them at all and just to let it just persist.
That would create a not very nice culture, which I've seen happen to newer streamers where they leave that stuff unchecked because it's not inherently bad, but it attracts that kind of crowd, and then it becomes an unsafe place for the LGBTQ community. And then you're just like, okay, well, I just don't want to watch this anymore because now it's gross. And the streamer's like, why did my community get this way? It's unfortunately because of, I guess, would that be called a microaggression? I'm not sure.
It starts that way, yeah.
Yeah, like iffy statements.
I mean, microaggressions kind of exist in, they're just sneaky. Like, that's why they're micro, right?
Yeah.
It's a insensitive joke here. It's a meme that is disrespectful there. That's just how it goes.
Now, I don't know if this needs to be said. Do we need to explain why things like no homo and using gay as an insult are microaggressions? I like, it's one of those things where I'm like, I feel like I've known this for a while, but at the same time, like, that's me. I'm not expecting everyone to meet me where I'm at.
One of the questions that I wrote down, Wes, is actually a kind of silly question, which is like, Billy, how do you like respond to users that try to come into chat and then use gay as an insult? Like,
immediately deleted. That's it. Like, I just not really a tolerance for it. Just okay, you get a message deletion, you'll get a warning if you do it again. I don't even do timeout, or I do either a really long timeout or just a ban. It depends on whether or not we have I've talked with the streamer about it before on whether or not what they prefer, because of the new banning system where if you ban the user, they don't see chat, they don't get to they don't get to see chat at all on any device on their IP. Or sorry, they get to see chat. They don't get to participate it if they use a different account on the same IP. So bans are very excessive now, which is a good thing, but sometimes a 2-day timeout might be a better option. So it depends.
So interesting, because like in chats that like I know like Wes for Loco, right? Like we just purge the comment, and then just like all of us in chat are just like, wow, imagine using gay as an insult.
That's kind of how it goes too. Like,
just thinking that that's actually a thing you can say to try to hurt somebody. Like, oh no, well you're straight. Oh, you got him.
It's very. It's kind of antiquated at this point.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't come up often, and when it does, after deletion, it's just chat being like, "What? Like what? Okay, I guess we're back in 2008. All right, cool."
Oh my god! New strategy. We're just gonna leave the comment and then just call the person straight as if it's an insult, and see if it sinks in for them why that might not make sense.
I feel like it's on the same caliber of somebody coming into chat and going like, "Oh well, I identify as an Apache attack helicopter and I use helicopter pronouns." I'm gonna throw my brother-in-law under the bus, but he told me that once, except he was like, no, my pronouns are wizard pronouns. And I was like, okay, wizard, and just did that for like an entire month, because it's like, it's so, like, a lot of people don't realize how like transphobic that is. And it's just so old. It's so old.
Yeah, a lot of that trolling's still pretty 2010 trolling level. But I mean, we definitely see it, right? So I guess that's something that like maybe the streamer, and I've seen situations where the streamer who I have absolutely no assumption that they are transphobic laugh at an Apache attack helicopter joke.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of those situations where it's good to have a diverse mod team. It's good to have a mod team who can help inform you on those things and like completely unironically get some queer people on your mod team. Just saying. It's definitely a good thing to have.
The one thing I will say, especially when a streamer that I mod for is on the front page, what you tend to see is those remarks being said in a different language.
Yes.
So have Google Translate up because you never know. Of course, if usually the rule is English only, so you can, you usually have free range to like in the channels that I moderate for. So we delete messages that are in a different language just to be safe and just at them and say like, please English only if you can. Yep. That's just kind of how it is here. But yeah, it's usually people using a different language to mask their trolling, and you definitely need to be vigilant about that.
It's like so low tier too. Like Google Translate is a universal tool, people. Come on now.
Yeah, and it's funny when you go to Google Translate and it's a very broken translation, but it's still shocking because you just know the word that you need to see is right there, but it's just everything around it is like kind of nonsensical in terms of English.
I've had like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that was it.
Oh, I've just like been in modding situations where like I have had to delete an attack helicopter joke from chat and then explain to the streamer why, hey, this is actually really stupid and transphobic. And then, it's like a good learning opportunity for that. But we've had someone come in, try to say in another language, hey, say this in Russian. And it was like translated to Black Lives Matter. And the streamer I was modding for was like, why are you trying to troll me with this? Because Black lives do matter. So if you think that's funny, cool, because it's important. So there. And they just like laughed because they got so frustrated. Like the low tier trolling is so,
Yeah, we have a joke in Sim's stream about the low tier trolling where, Sim would just be like, yeah, you can't go in off the bat like that. Work your way up first, be a while, stay a while, read the room a little bit, then start to troll. And then I would be like, yeah, actually I got a moderator badge just by trolling. That's just
I mean, same though.
Yeah. Look, if you have a really good troll, they tend to make good moderators. Look,
I mean,
why does this keep coming up?
Every behind the streams episode, someone's like, yeah, well, I'm only here because I'm a troll. And it's like,
every single episode, someone is like, well, actually, trolls make the best mods. And I'm just sitting here like, I know, right?
We think like them. That's why we know where the line is. And we can just be like, no, you're done. That's it.
It's so funny that you say that. Oh my gosh. Let's move on to a different question here. Oh my gosh, this is like one of my favorite topics. So why don't we talk about Pride Month for a little bit? What are some of your favorite things about Pride Month that happen on Twitch? And then more importantly, what do you think could be handled better?
Who wants to go first?
You gotta marinate on it. Let's start with your favorite things. Like, do you have a favorite part of Pride Month on Twitch?
Well, the first thing I think is everybody's favorite part is the emotes. Honestly, they're so good.
They actually hire like members of the LGBTQ community to make emotes too, which is just like icing on the cake.
And I'm really happy that this year they focused more on the aspects of the LGBT community that don't get a lot of focus, like the asexual community, non-binary community, aromantic communities. Because, along with being pansexual, I'm also demisexual, which for those that don't know, it's more of a case where you don't have a sexual attraction to somebody unless you have an emotional connection with them. So, and you might be thinking, well, like, isn't that everybody? Like, no, it's literally like you're almost completely asexual up until that point. Like, it's one of those cases. And being both makes me a pandemic before it was cool.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my god, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So glad
So I'm glad
Chloe.
that got more of a focus, but really when it comes to improving it, it mainly just comes down to like why a month? You know,
Mhm.
why do gay content creators and trans content creators and non-binary content creators only get the focus once during 1 month? And also the trans community has been asking for a trans tag for ever since the tag system was introduced. So where is it? We
Mhm.
I wish I had more water so I could take a sip, but
Oh my gosh. We can just pretend to take sips. It's okay. We'll pretend we don't notice.
Yeah, it's fine.
No, I totally relate to that too. I mean, especially like even with like Black History Month,
yeah.
right? Just like the movement to become more inclusive is a very interesting one. It's usually built on the hard work of usually Black queer people, and that's something that's very important to acknowledge. But yeah, it's just I do like the emotes, right? Because at least the emotes are year round. Anyone can use the emotes, and then is the purple and white with the green stripe, is that Demi?
That's
Or is it just
said
genderqueer in general?
which one was that again?
There's a bee emote with it, and it's so cute,
Yeah.
and it's
Just going through
very
my emotes to see them really quick because wait, where are they? Oh, there's so many emotes.
oh,
I
and
know.
Pride emote has it.
Uh, yeah, the I think the B yeah, that's the Pride Cute is aromantic.
Oh, okay, so that's
So
so nice to have, like
so
that tech.
green is aromantic and with that color scheme with the gray and the white and the black. With purple that's, asexual.
Okay.
And then there's the spectrums that tends to be. So because it's not just asexual or aromantic, it's a larger spectrum.
That's
So
so cool.
Twitch did Twitch did the most with this most recent set of emotes. They're amazing. It's like there's a like I will say that I love that they don't just put out a bunch of emotes with rainbows on them and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is Pride." It's like no, like they actually went out of their way and made sure that they had, an aromantic, an asexual, a demisexual, like they
intersex, like
yeah,
it's everything.
they really did the most and like I love that so much. They did an amazing job with the emotes this year.
Yeah. I do feel as though Twitch kind of dropped the ball compared to last year where there were no Pride bits. Because you used to be able to cheer with the
Mhm.
Pride bit, and then some of that, those proceeds would go to, I believe, the Trevor Project. But something like that could have easily been utilized. I'm sure that it might have been. There's a possibility it was probably been dropped due to the protests over Floyd's murder. But at the same time, wouldn't that be one of the best opportunities to fundraise for a cause, right? So I don't
Yeah.
know. That really disappointed me this year. The emotes are the best and I love them, but the lack of the fundraising through the bit system like it normally is throughout the year it was interesting to
I
me.
remember the email saying that they did donate to the Trevor Project, but I'm not sure. I don't think it was a fundraising effort, or at least it wasn't a public one.
Yeah, they
Um,
just kind of said, "Oh, we donated." And we're like, "Yeah, we'll totally take your word for that you
or if I
donated."
remember, I think it was a case of like bits and sub revenue did contribute to it, but it wasn't like you had to tag the bits. It just it just was a contribute. It just contributed to that. Like I think a percentage of that up to a certain amount, and I think that was around the 500,000 mark. I'm not sure, but they were fundraising. It just wasn't very public, and
Interesting.
and I think it would have been better if it was public because yeah, let's make some noise.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd,
Mhm.
I'd like if they don't make you use anything for it and all bits and subs. Like
Yeah.
we get to own the bigots, like they're donating anyway, and it's like, yeah, you're actually contributing to the Trevor Project. Gotcha. Um, I would be so down for that.
It's a little bit of a different conversation. I was about to chime in with, "Oh, but like my freedom to choose," and it's like,
No.
Yeah, another day.
on.
And what's your choice then? What are you, or is the other choice is not doing that? Do you have a problem with it? Like Well,
And there lies the question.
yeah.
Let's see. What are some of the things that you do in chat as a moderator to be specifically inclusive? Is there any behavior that you've also taught the other mods on your team or even your streamer to help like adopt those principles?
I feel like with the mod teams on all the channels that I'm a part of, it's we're already very inclusive. So I haven't had to do any work in that regard, and I'm sorry I don't have any stories with that. Um,
Totally.
in regards to the older Twitch, some years
Oh
ago,
gosh.
um, there's a little bit more work that had to be done, and God, it was even a time before Discord, so we didn't even really have a proper channel to communicate. So a lot of these conversations took place in either Twitter DMs or just in Twitch chat because that was all we had.
Sounds so
Um,
stressful.
yeah. So, there were some points where we had to educate each other about certain things because yeah, everybody has blind spots, but when it came to issues of LGBTQIA plus, yeah, it was wasn't a conversation that had to be had often, but it had to be had sometimes.
Mm,
And we just had to just explain it and just kind of say like, look, just don't, if this comes up, or if you just don't do this, if it comes up, we quick 5-second timeout, just things like that. And I have to say that I'm pretty lucky that I didn't have to do a lot of legwork to try to like get that result in a lot of in the communities that I moderate for.
that's
Because I
nice.
know a lot of people have to do a lot of legwork for that, and it's even stressful even if the streamer doesn't even trust your judgment on that. And at that point, you ask yourself, well, why am I a mod if you don't trust my judgment? So, but I've never really had to deal with that, fortunately. So,
What do you do to make things inclusive, Karli?
Well, so my partner streams, and I've been teaching him how to use more like gender inclusive language after I learned it, which like it's a little bit of a hurdle, right? But it's really, can we just talk about how it's really not that big a deal to reprogram yourself to like say something else instead of one thing? Like I feel like it's just this huge deal, but it's just basic conditioning. Just correct yourself and then move on. It just it
yeah,
helps so many people. Or like talking about why pronouns are important in your Twitter bio, right? Like I had my pronouns in my bio before I even knew I was non-binary, because it as a whole protects the queer community from homophobia, transphobia, etc. But yeah, just using simple things like they. When I stream, instead of saying guys, I'll say either y'all or chat. And it's just, there's just like tiny little things like that that really means the world to somebody who is closeted.
yeah, and I wish I could fit my pronouns in my Twitter bio. I just don't have room.
It's so
You
hard
don't get so
to.
many characters. You get so few characters, and I'd like to. It'd be nice to be like, oh, I can put that in my location because I know a lot of people do that, but I need my location because
Yep.
I used to run meetups, and a lot of the people that I know and communicate with, you know, they rely on that location stuff. So it's one of those things, right?
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
but yeah, it's really not hard to just, if somebody says, "Hey, I identify as this. Can you use this?" I People get defensive, and I think it comes from this idea of like, oh, if I get it wrong again, if I make a mistake, are they going like it just giving the benefit of the doubt? That is, if I make a mistake with that again, are they gonna hate me and be antagonistic to me? Which the answer is no.
Mhm.
Just as long as you're trying, because yeah, it's a journey to we've been programmed a certain way. We have to unlearn it and learn something new. So yeah, there's no just fight against that resistance because everybody has that with new information, right? Especially when it conflicts with old information. Just that no, I have to hold my ground on the things that I already know and my view of the world. And it's like, okay, but the world's changed a bit in terms of what's acceptable, what's not, and where people are, and with people coming out and people saying like, hey, what was used to describe me before doesn't describe me at all. It never did. So please respect this.
it really does just come down to respect. Like,
Yeah.
it's that simple. It's baffling how a lot of people, I mean, even the whole pronoun debate, like you'll see on Twitter, people will be like, oh, you have pronouns in your bio on Twitter, so that means that your opinion is stupid and I'm right. Like,
I can't stand those people.
you're acting as if having pronouns is some like evil satanic thing that the devil came down and gave to people who are gay with a capital G because to destroy family values in America or something like that, when like everybody has pronouns, even objects have pronouns. Like, y'all learn some things, please. Like, my pet pigeon has pronouns. It's not a huge deal.
Weirdly enough, for me, because I grew up playing online games, like playing. The first one was Halo 2 when I was like 12, and I should not have been 12 on Xbox Live. You have to be 13 or older to use the service. But I lied about my birthday, and I still played Halo 2 custom games. But with World of Warcraft, though, which ate most of my life, you didn't know, there was a lot of cases where you didn't know the gender of the person you're talking to. It wasn't even a case of just, non-binary and trans and people using non-traditional pronouns. It was just a case of, hey, yeah, I'm actually a woman. Can you not call me he or guy or this? And I was like, okay, sure. So I actually just adopted to using they while growing up for mostly everybody who I didn't know for sure. Just because, yeah, if I'm in a guild, I don't want to cause conflict like that. I don't want people to feel left out. And I was a young lad, so that helped me a lot. But I know a lot of people didn't have that luxury. So,
yeah, if anyone tells you that switching to gender inclusive language is difficult, they probably haven't tried it.
yeah,
you will make mistakes. You will mess up and still say "Hey guys" instead of "Hey y'all."
Yeah.
I'm in California, we say "dude" all the time. Like
all the time.
Yeah, but like
an issue now. The whole thing with "dude." It's interesting to watch that from a California perspective. It's like "dude" is no longer gender inclusive. I mean, it kind of never really was, but now it's kind of like a hey, we should probably address this thing, and it's important. It's important. If someone is uncomfortable with "dude," then just say, I don't know. What's up, my homie, my friend, my best buddy? Other things to say.
What's up, my fellow memers and gamers?
Yeah.
Memers and gamers. Ooh.
I'll say that to like a group of people. Like I run, I guess before the quarantine, I would run drink and draws and be like, "Hey, y'all!" Or I'd walk into a group of my coworkers and be like, "What's up, gamers?" It's gender neutral. You can get creative.
It smells like gamer in here. That's one of our favorite memes in Sims chat. It's just, it smells like gamer in here, man.
That's like a really real thing that I can smell when you say it. So
I know. Just can we move on from that?
And when man is said, it's more of the case of like the older stoner speak rather than labeling somebody. But
yeah,
it's that don't be creative. That's it. In fact, that's there's a lot of fun in that. You don't have to just think about like, oh well, this option is no longer available to me, so I'm sad. Like, no, you got new options now
and better options.
Yeah, things that are more memorable.
Just referring to everybody else's chat is like so good and really confusing to people who don't use Twitch. They're like, "What did you just call me?" Yeah, what's up, chat? How's it going?
Yeah, and also, most people just refer to chat as chat. Like it's.
Yeah.
What up, chat?
Go up to my animation coworkers. Hey, chat, how's it going?
I'm doing that next time. It's sold. What up, chat?
Funny.
And then next time I'm gonna say one's in chat if you want to get lunch at Five Guys today.
I know, or you'll be like, all right, F's in chat, y'all. I just had to throw out 3 hours of work, and people will either put F or they're like, what does that mean? I don't speak millennial, and I'm like, oh right, I'm a baby.
Is it millennial or Zoomer? I don't know anymore.
Oh, it's definitely millennial, and then probably Zoomers use it too, but it's not boomer.
Not boomer. They're not the one calling us chat.
What if they are?
They try and rebound from OK Boomer, and they're like, OK Boomer is ageist. We're gonna say OK Chat, and all millennials and Zoomers would just be like, that's fine, that's cool. It's gender inclusive. I'm down.
No, I was just imagining like an executive producer in like a line reading meeting being like, all right, chat, let's get down to this. And all the professionals and the voice actors in the room were like,
oh my God.
So
We derailed this real good.
The point is that using gender inclusive language doesn't have to be stupid and boring. It can be really fun and ridiculous. And IMO, it's way more fun than just saying, oh yeah, broski. Oh, I can't say broski anymore. Oh my gosh. This is the end of the world. I based my entire personality around broski. And then I'm going to turn around and ask LGBTQ people why they base their entire personality on their sexuality.
Yeah, that's... It's really
getting spicy.
Yeah, no, I mean, but for real, like people base their personality and their lives around things that don't affect them nearly as much as their sexual orientation or their gender identity. Like but yet when you bring it up, they'll be like, well, why does that matter to you?
Yeah. But I am an attack helicopter, Billymfmays. Are you going to sell me some copter oil?
Well, OxyClean isn't rated for military equipment, so.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like Billy actually knows that from previous questions too. Like that's come up in chat.
I've memorized a small library of Billymfmays products.
Oh my God. Well, I will say one thing that, and Karli knows all about this. This might have even been like her initiative is.
No, I don't know anything. You're lying.
Okay, so I came up with this thing, right? No, there's a exclamation point pronouns chat in Loco's chat now, which is something that we did to try and be more inclusive and put that information more front and center. And we've actually had some issues where it can be hard to tell whether someone is coming in with a just straight up troll or they're literally like a 14-year-old who doesn't know a socially acceptable way to ask that question. So what are your experiences with that? And is there like, how do you draw the line when someone comes in and they're just like, hey, are you gay? And you're like, where is this going?
I'm a little on guard, honestly, and I've had people kind of do that, and I was like, are you here because you're genuinely like looking for someone who is, or are you here just about to troll? And it kind of, I have to fight that a lot, even as a whether it's as a moderator or even as a broadcaster when I do stream. Like, you know, I've been bullied a lot when I was growing up, so like I have that like, oh, I got to get ready for this and shut them down immediately. And it has caused problems. It has, because it's, your judgment isn't really great in that sense. So
I've been on the opposite side where we were, you know, someone was streaming and someone came in and they were like, hey, are you a boy or a girl? And I'm like sitting there like using the pronouns command and tagging them, and someone else just like timed them out. And I was like, well, hey, they might have just been asking questions because they don't know. And it turns out they were a huge friggin' troll.
Yeah.
And it was bad faith from the beginning. And it was me making the wrong call because I like wanted to have faith. I'm like,
I remember that. Mr. Occam's razor.
Or is that Hanlon's razor? It's one of the razors. Never attribute to malice that which could be explained by stupidity, which I believe is Hanlon's razor. And I was trying to like, you know, I was like, let's give this person the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they can learn something about pronouns and gender today. And they couldn't. They didn't. I was wrong there.
You can give them the opportunity to. It's up to them to accept it. And if they don't, then there's the door.
Yep.
It's better to have that policy than to be like, no, I see the warning signs when it's too early and you're gone. Like, no. Like I do agree with your approach there, because it's give them the opportunity, but because you never know. In that case, they could have guessed wrong, right?
Well, and there's that difference between someone just straight up saying, "Are you a boy or a girl?" and someone coming in and being like, "Hey, you look like a dude. Are you trans?" Like,
Or
there's
like, do you have pronouns?
Yeah, there's some questions like that. You know, there is one time I feel bad about this too, where I had a viewer ask if I was trans, and I was just like, "Are you trying to bait me into something?" Like, and I got a little like, you know, I think I can identify that I got a little like snippy with it, like, you know, like I was a little too curt, and I felt bad because they were just asking like genuinely because they were also trans.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I was like, oh, now you know, it's a lesson, unfortunately, that I had to learn the hard way. So
Yeah.
take the opportunity to learn the lessons the easy way instead, just
Yeah.
by listening to those accounts, right?
It's difficult, I'm sure, especially because you've been out, I mean, like way longer, like way longer than Wes or I, that like it gets exhausting. It's like
Yeah,
the equivalent of me trying to explain to almost every single new dude friend I make why sexual harassment in the workplace is important and why sexism is very much still like a thing that exists. As much as you don't want to believe it, like it's just tiring, and sometimes you just don't have the energy to really deal with that.
yeah, and it's a lot of cases where before a lot of people that knew me didn't even know about my sexual identity because it's just like I I just didn't want to talk about it anymore, and I wasn't. You know, I'm also part of the asexual spectrum, so it never really came up. Like, I'm not like, you know, trying to hit on people or anything like that. I don't have that drive. So, yeah, like it was just, of course, there's also, just to put that out there too, just because someone isn't straight doesn't mean they're promiscuous and are looking to have sex with you at every opportunity. Uh,
Gosh, that's a whole thing too. Oh
yeah.
my gosh, yeah.
It's this, yeah, and you know, I remember encountering that in high school, and I encountered that in adulthood, and still today, it's still very much a thing.
Mhm. I
So
I remember encountering that even in middle school. Like we had a classmate who was like openly like she was gay, and it was just this whole thing. And I feel like if there were more initiatives put in place to educate people about sexuality, I just feel like that situation could have been handled differently, and I hope that, I mean, kids today, like Zoomers are educated as hell. Like they'll school me on anything any day, and then they'll roast me and call me a boomer because like, it's
uh,
great. But I do wish that like a lot of this stuff that we're talking about was incorporated a little bit earlier on, because now you'll have people either coming in and trolling in bad faith where you're like, okay, do I want to shut this down? Do I want to troll them back because it's funny and time them out anyways? Or are they like genuinely asking, you know?
yeah, and let them, even though your guard is just saying like, "Hey, you know where this is going. You've seen it go this way a million times before," but just even still, give them one opportunity, and then just see if they take it, and if they don't, there's a door again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be a lot happier if I knew that I let someone get a, homophobic or transphobic comment in and it went 3 seconds before I deleted it. I've got a lot less regret over that than I do over banning someone who may have had genuine questions and maybe, going through their own journey and learning about themselves. So, I agree. It's, if you can, but I think Salty brought up a great point, is that, people who identify as non-binary or trans have been trolled so much that suspicions run high. So
Yeah,
it's a lot easier for me as a moderator off camera to be like, oh, let's give this person a second chance, than it is for the streamer who's on camera and has dealt with this
oh
a
yeah,
million times. It's easy for me to not get defensive, but I can totally understand how, if I were broadcasting and someone asked that, I'd be a lot more like, wait, here's a troll, get rid of this person.
that's how I felt when I was broadcasting and that happened. Like, I'm just like, I didn't ban them, but I was just a little snarky with it, and
Mhm.
Mhm.
you know, and that doesn't even sound that bad when you like. It's not like, oh, I was like super. I wasn't like excluding them, but I still kind of was. But I wasn't like being overt with like bans and timeouts and anything like that. But that happened like a year or two ago, and I still think about it. Like but I don't think about, the times where I let a message be seen for like 3 seconds and then deleted it, as you said. So
yeah, I personally do like being finally like accepting myself and being out as non-binary, because then I'll have people come into chat and be like, you look like a boy, and it's like, well, I'm not even a girl either, so thanks, I guess. Like, oh, you mean I don't look like a stereotypical like cis chick? Awesome, that is literally what I'm going for. Thank you for like validating me.
yeah.
Get them with one of those.
Yeah, there's the people. There's just the people who just come out of the gate and they're just genuinely insulting, and then it's just like, you do need a timeout. Like, just cool off a little bit. You don't get chat for right now. You get to listen. If you choose not to listen, again, you can go. But
yeah, I stream as like a hobby, and so I really just don't give a shit what happens in my stream. So if somebody comes in and says something like this, I'll just leave it in chat and then school them. And then if they want to come out and say something that is actually incredibly offensive and gross, then that's gonna get a ban. But most of the time it's just like they're gonna come in and say that thing, and then they're just gonna leave and go on to someone else, because I don't know, I guess like when you're mentally stunted like that, you just get a lot of gratification from, not using your brain a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said if you're equipped and you are willing or ready to about letting those messages stay and using it as a teaching moment. I can only imagine how grating that might be, but there is something to be said about just taking that troll and taking their power away by just acknowledging. If they want to say something truly horrendous, obviously we know where the ban button is. But if they just want to say something like, hey, you look like a boy, and you get to say, hey, yeah, and this is why, because I'm not a girl, like that can be a teaching moment too. So and you're right. Half those trolls, if someone challenges them, they want a ban. We all know trolls. They want to get banned. They just want to make somebody mad. And if they can't make somebody mad, you're right. You just get a teaching moment, which is free content for your stream. And they're most likely just going to leave or post one more thing that gets them truly banned.
Yeah.
So
they'll double down.
Yeah, exactly. If they're not going to take it as a teaching moment, they will double down, and you'll get to use that ban hammer either way.
So that's fine.
It's delayed gratification in a way. It's.
We've got some great questions coming in from chat.
Yeah.
I've been listing them in the document. Karli, are there any of those that you want to grab?
Yes. Let me see. There was a good one. Okay. Oh, yeah, there was a Goro187 that said, honestly, I understand the attack helicopter thing. However, Twitch had a rep who said that they're a deer person. How is that legitimate? But it's stupid to say attack helicopter. And I would say that's a very complicated question that deserves a complicated answer, because I, for one, have only heard of this Twitch representative. I don't actually know them. I don't know what their identity entails, or if they are possibly like two-spirit or indigenous. So I think it's just very difficult to kind of, because I get it, right? It's kind of a like, where do you draw the line sort of question. But
it's
for
context.
Yeah, it depends on context, and for me personally, it's about respect. Like if somebody is going around gentrifying being two-spirit when they themselves are not indigenous, then that's going to be an issue. But because I don't have context, I'm not going to really judge that.
Or even if they're a furry, like it's still the same thing. Like that's how they identify. Just respect it. That's it. Like it's not about the attack helicopter thing, that's obviously supposed to be a jab and a joke, and it's supposed to be mean-spirited. Like it's not, there's no respect in that equation at all. So yeah, if some, that's just where it is. It's that context and that respect.
So for me, I think this is it's a lot more difficult to determine somebody's intent than we all wish it were. We wish it were super easy to see something like that. I, like Karli, I'm only vaguely tangentially experienced. Like, I don't know this person. I did hear about the identifying as a deer person thing, but okay, I'm gonna get spicy here. But it's like All Lives Matter to Black Lives Matter, in that All Lives Matter was only ever used as a response to Black Lives Matter, which makes it antagonizing from the get-go. And the attack helicopter thing was only ever used as a response to people starting to claim their pronouns. So it's always been antagonistic. There's never been a time when attack helicopter could have been taken seriously, just like if All Lives Matter is never said unless it's in response to Black Lives Matter. So that's my take on it, is that attack helicopter is very clearly a response to a very real movement, and dear person is just something that I might not understand. I don't think that person is responding to trans rights activists and saying, hey, I know you identify as this now, but I identify as a deer. Like, it's not in response. And I think that makes a huge difference. And it really kind of clearly spells their intent if it's just in response to something.
Sadly, I actually don't know the event in question, so like I don't know the context of it, but that's also why it's something, as I said, just consider it. Like,
yeah, definitely. That's a good question, Goro.
I guess the Morag set has a good contribution. I feel like the question could be rephrased as, when can you tell that a person is joking about proposed pronouns, as opposed to, like, when do you actually need to offer that person like the respect that they deserve? Because they're a human being. It doesn't really matter what you think about them. If they want to use like the wildest pronouns ever, right, you're going to use them.
Just again, it's really how they say it. And also there's rhetoric, especially when it comes to the attacks against those who use pronouns to those who are, gay, or, whether it's gay, non-binary, transgendered, and anything in the spectrum. It's just there's a rhetoric there. It's existed for decades, if not centuries at this, definitely for centuries. You just have to, and it's really not that subtle. It really isn't.
Yeah. I love what you brought up about rhetoric, Billymfmays. I can't stop saying your username. It's great. But I love what you brought up about rhetoric, because I feel like rhetoric specifically has been a very important conversation when it comes to the LGBTQ community, especially in the past couple of years, because a lot of people will want you to just interpret what somebody is saying as this is literally what they're saying on the surface. Like, you don't need to read into this at all. But a lot of the ways that discriminations happen, a lot of the ways that homophobia happens and is still allowed in spaces like Twitch, and in communities, is because of rhetoric and what people actually mean when they say that, or what those words specifically echo. So I'm very glad you said something about that.
And on top of rhetoric, there's also just well-known dog whistles too, and things that are used that, like, like it or not, Pepe is honestly used as a dog whistle. And for my stream, I can at least control that. I don't have any Pepe emotes enabled on Better Twitch TV.
Sure.
I can't really affect the global ones, but at least I can say, like, that's where I draw the line. And whether or not you use something like that, as because there's a lot of funny Pepe emotes that a lot of people love, but it's a dog whistle. It's still used by people who want to say a hateful message, and used to kind of ease people into radicalizing them with very hateful sentiments. So there's being as a moderator, specifically being on top of what the language is, because it's constantly changing, what the old rhetoric was and what the old and new rhetoric is, and what the dog whistles are. It will help you in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such an important thing to know too, is when uh, what kind of things to recognize in like emotes and emote patterns that can completely change the meaning of somebody's sentence. Where you can say one thing, and if it's followed by a pride emote, it's an awesome message and I love it. But if it's followed by a Pepe emote, that person's getting banned.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting how something like that can add so much context
Yeah,
to what somebody said.
Mm-hmm.
that's
A question from Kay Makes Things. This for all of us. How did your expectations and worries of coming out conflict or align with your lived experiences? And how did they compare to the reactions you got from your friends and family?
damn.
I
Well,
know. It's a deep one.
I came out in 2008, and that was the year California decided to ban um, same-sex marriages through Prop 8.
Oh
Um,
no.
so yeah, California had some problems. Even though it's, you think of San Francisco as like a very accepting location, but California has a number of conservative areas too, and Prop 8 was supported, and that ban lasted until either 2012 or 2014. But yeah, it was legal before, and then it wasn't. So yeah, and it was only 12 years ago, as Salty said. Um, it was the reactions I got from my friends and family, as I alluded to earlier, is that I wasn't accepted. I was tolerated, but not accepted.
Mm.
And that's just, and being in a conservative area, I don't even know if my dad currently knows I'm pan, like, because I never really had that conversation with him because he aligns very heavily with beliefs that aren't compatible. That's kind of it. Um, I think my sister might have told him when I came out to her, and she was accepting of it.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom thought it was just a phase, or thought that I didn't know what I was talking about because I'm 15. Um, I just assumed because my sister liked to basically she we're siblings in the worst ways where we're young and we're using like things like that to blackmail each other. And I think she told my dad and like just to try to paint me in a bad light one day, but I actually don't know. She might have just said that just to be mean, but I don't know if she actually said it.
Mm.
She said it to me as a way to just like get my guard up, but I don't know if she actually said it to him. Um,
Right.
and yeah, just those for those that I said, even with close friends, it was more tolerance than really accepting it, just because I mean, I went to a high school where there was only one, maybe two other like people that were out as gay, and they were ridiculed and bullied quite a lot. And that kind of motivated me to basically kind of keep it hidden too, because like I've dealt with that treatment when I was in middle school and in elementary school, and I didn't want to deal with it again. And just in terms of that harassment, so you just kind of just kept your head down, your guard up. Um, and yeah, there wasn't really a lot of resources for acceptance. And then I carry that forward into my early adulthood, and up until I found communities on Twitch that were actually accepting rather than just tolerant.
Yeah, there's such a huge difference there too, between actually accepting and tolerance. Because there's just a huge difference there. I can definitely name some people in my life that are tolerant of what they
Mm.
found out about me, but far from actively accepting. Karli, what about you?
I guess I would say that like I never actually really intended to come out to my parents, just because they, I mean, okay, so like a little background, I'm an army brat. So I'm kind of like every army brat family's worst nightmare. I'm the oldest child. I was rebellious. I got in trouble a lot. I went off to college as far away as possible, and then I moved out to liberal hippie hell, California, which turns out it's not actually as progressive as they like to pretend they are, but that's, the common among people not from California. It is often portrayed as liberal hell. But so I had no intention of like telling them. But when after I came out to my sisters, so my partner didn't give a shit. It was great. And then it came out to the mods. I knew that I would be like generally accepted in that because it's just a really inclusive moderator community. But when I came out to my sisters, it was kind of seen as a betrayal because I'm like hella close with my sisters. Like we're just best friends. We text each other all the time. And to withhold something like that from them for so long was negatively shocking to them. But I just wanted to be sure that it wasn't like a stupid face or anything. So like, we ended up moving past that, and then one of my sisters, they're great, right? So it's not like they were going to go and out me to anybody that I shouldn't, because they're aware that in general, you don't out other people to people they haven't outed themselves. Like you just don't do that. It's dangerous.
Like literally dangerous.
Literally dangerous. Yeah. But one of my sisters just felt like she was living like she was lying to my parents about who I was. And I was like, I don't really see it that way, but I can see this is bothering you a lot. And I mean, she was having trouble sleeping and shit. And I was like, okay, well, my parents are cool and they've always told me they love me no matter what. So might as well tell them. And they just like didn't care at all. It was great. They were just like, okay, like whatever. It was
awesome.
such a relief. And then, afterwards my sister asked them about it, and she's like, how are y'all feeling about that? Do you feel betrayed at all? And they're like, no, like, I mean, my dad said that Karli's gender isn't so much of a problem as her politics. And I'm like, that pretty much sums up my family right there. So it defied expectations in a lot of ways, but fortunately in a lot of good ways.
I don't have a lot to say on the subject because by the time I started like my journey of discovering my gender and sexuality, I was already surrounded by online friends who were super cool about it. And the few friends from like high school that I still talk to were more like, what's that? Than they were like judging or anything like that. My parents were the same way. I was like, hey, mom, dad, I think I'm like non-binary and maybe like demisexual and bi or pan or something like that. They were just like, what are all those things? It's fine, whatever. So I had it like super easy, and I was super lucky in that sense, which does contrast to when I was growing up. I was called gay all the time. Long before I thought any of those thoughts myself. When I thought I was a completely straight cis dude, I was called gay all the time because I've always just been feminine and not afraid to like, get in touch with that side. So it was interesting to be like, you know what, all those guys in high school are kind of right.
That's how I felt like in middle school and even elementary school. And of course, those are the playground insults that people used back then. Just, in fact, in high school, I was part of a club that existed just to try to get rid of like commonly used slurs like that. Just
that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had a great teacher like kind of help organize it, and then I was fairly prominent in just helping out with that. Awesome. Since I knew how to use Photoshop at the age of 17, I was the one putting together the posters and
had the power.
Yeah.
Billy was so much more woke at 17 years old than I was at like 27.
It's not a race, it's a journey,
Yeah.
But
I remember. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I remember in like high school, I mean, I had like a lot of teenage cis dude friends. And so that kind of entails a lot of, when it comes to the LGBT community. And one of the things that I always loved about it, which was whenever I cut my hair short, people were like, Karli, that makes you look gay. Karli, that makes you look like a lesbian. And I'm like, cool, thanks. Like, lesbians are really stylish and really nice people, so thanks for saying that I look amazing. And it's just like, what even is something like that supposed to mean? Like, oh, because I have short hair, or modern days, because you have blue hair, you're like gonna scream at me on Twitter about your pronouns and stuff. Like, it's just stupid stuff like that, where it's like, cool, I mean, thanks, I'm glad that I look gay, so hopefully more people will just stay away from me.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to go into when you go into a trending topic on Twitter and you see people talking about blue hair Twitter and pronoun Twitter. I'm like,
No, like, I like having blue hair, but they're gonna judge me. But I also don't care.
Blue hair Twitter. I've never heard that phrase, and I
wish I
had never heard it. It's
a whole thing.
People find every sorts of ways to try to insult a group of people that are just apparently that are in opposition to what they believe, even though frankly it's really not that hard. They're actually doing more work being in opposition to it than just accepting it.
Yeah, it's I've seen it used a lot with like, conservative women look like this, and then it's just like a conventional cis, like straight white lady with like nice blonde hair and stuff, where it's like, oh, and then liberals look like this, and then it's like chick with blue hair, and it's like, I don't really get this. This is like a very layered homophobic thing, but it's a thing. Like, apparently it's like, why do women like color their hair and get tattoos when that's not attractive to men at all? And it's like, it's a thing. It's absolutely a thing. But
I was better off not knowing this anyway.
But yeah, it's like that, right? Really layered, lots of rhetoric, a lot of stuff that, like, I mean, in Twitch chat, that's very relevant if somebody comes in and tries to insult you in that way, and now you know that it has all of this massive homophobic backstory to it. And it's important for, like, streamers, especially non-LGBTQ ones, to, like, know why that's important.
Yeah. I think we've got 2 more questions. Let's see. Do mods have any powers beyond permanently banning people? I've often witnessed hate speech in trans streams that would warrant legal action, like threats of violence. Unfortunately, there is a lot of that. And on Twitch, there's not much you can do. You can ban, you can report. I take screenshots and show your fellow mods so that everybody can use that screenshot in their report. But like Salty said, same as you. We've got a report button. There's no send this account to the local PD button, unfortunately. Any other experience on that?
Talk to other mods in other communities too about it. If they're saying that in one chat, they're probably saying it in a number of chats.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
There are some proactive moves you can take. Honestly, I think the blacklist filter doesn't get used that much in a lot of chats and channels. Moderators have the ability to add words to that blacklist, add words to a whitelist. They can remove words as they see fit. Streamers, you have the ability to hide certain words on that list from moderators. For instance, say a streamer, it's a good idea to maybe put your street name in that list as a streamer, but you might not want to show that to your moderators. So definitely, like, you can hide that. Or, zip code is another one. Maybe parts of your phone number, maybe parts of your social even. You never know. But yeah, you can for a moderator though, you can add words like that, and you can add it's an infinite library of words, really.
It's very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say unless like a gray hat hacker, you really can't do much about targeted harassment, hate speech, really like anything. Which is like, I mean, we were talking with the Me Too movement, the whole thing, or like the gamer girl thing. Like, there's no way really for people to harass stalkers to begin with in real life, and a lot of this behavior goes unchecked on the platform, which is stupid.
Yeah, I can agree. And we're getting close on time here, but we got one more from chat here. If there were no questions in front of this, may I ask about some of the best practices that you as creators want to make sure your mods know? I mean, I understand Instapurge for trolls, but are things like 0-day accounts something you talk about? 100%.
Yeah,
I mean,
snap judgment is look at follow date. Or
Yep.
look at follow date, look at account creation date. Like, okay, who are you? Like, oh, your account's brand new and you're saying that? No, you're gone.
Yeah, exactly. Like, literally, if someone comes into chat saying something shady, the entire mod team is going to be typing /user and then that username. They're going to pull up their log info, everything they've ever said in chat, how long they've been following for, how long their account has been alive, you know, like just things like that where it's just kind of use that tool, or like use ModView. ModView is amazing for stuff like that, because then like you can see when another mod has something taken care of, so you can go and do something else. But yeah, just
Trolling.
in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you go and you just go back to your normal trolling after you've gotten rid of the bad trolling.
Right. Get rid of the bad troll and just go back to all
some
caps.
trolls are flowers and some trolls are weeds.
That's a great way of putting it. Oh my gosh.
I like that, actually.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. There were a couple questions that we didn't answer. Karli, were there any of those that you really wanted to go over? Or Billy, if you're looking at the outline, is there anything that you super wanted to touch on before we call it a show here?
Let's see.
I mean, I feel like we were kind of thorough, but
yeah,
been a good show.
Yeah.
You know, okay, we're gonna do this last bomb, because if anybody answers yes to this, it's gonna be an interesting conversation. So, have you ever dealt with intolerance on the mod team? And if so, how is it resolved?
Nah.
Not intolerance, but just debates on what is, like, you know, what is a slur, what isn't, that kind of thing. So, but not like intolerance, no.
Did it feel like you were mostly educating the mod team and not like an argument or anything like that?
It was civil. Like, it wasn't an argument, but it was I feel like the result of it wasn't quite exactly like kind of what should have been done. But it's also just a thing where I just kind of have to say it's just not in my control at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And there'll be another day.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I feel like I haven't really dealt with intolerance in any mod team that I've been a part of. I mean, like, differing opinions, yes, but because, like, I mean, particularly because the local mod team is thicker than thieves, right? Like, you can tell if somebody is genuinely not aware if what they're saying is, like, you know, not like LGBTQ friendly and things like that. So you can take it as an opportunity to explain, but I personally have not experienced that.
Yeah, I've been lucky too, but you know, you got to throw that one out there, because if someone says yes, it's going to be a good story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well then, unless somebody else in chat has another question for us, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for the day. As Morag said earlier, if you haven't guessed by now, we do not have a damn stream of thought today, so this will be the last show for the day. We do have more shows this week. I believe we have a hotfix tomorrow, but I don't think I've seen the topic yet. So keep an eye on the Twitter for that.
But yeah, they definitely tweeted out about it, and they're looking for guests right now. So just go to Twitter.
Yeah, that's right. And then tomorrow, I'm doing a workshop. It's going to be a super easy, breezy, quick one, but it's a super useful tool. And actually, until Morag's fantasticness took this over for us, it's actually how we ran like every single show on this channel, and that is Zoom, the video conferencing software. So I'm going to be talking about that tomorrow. And with that, Let's get a sign off.
Links, yeah. Let's like Billy, tell us about you and where we can find you, how we can talk to you, if we can buy your merchandise if you have that, right? Like,
Yep.
Where can I get OxyClean?
You can get OxyClean, Orange Glow, Kaboom, Mighty Mended at many retail locations that you probably can't go to anyways because it's really not safe to at this point. But for real, you can find me on Twitter and Twitch. Billymfmays is the username in both cases. I tend to do a lot of shit posting on Twitter. Oh, a lot of depression memes lately.
Oh, that's a follow for me, sir.
But yeah, on Twitch, we tackle, more difficult games, more difficult RPGs, roguelikes, Metroidvanias, and Souls-likes, with a more patient and positive attitude. Like I'm not a rage gamer, I know some people love that in some places, but if you're expecting it, you're probably going to be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
So it's just Twitter, Billymfmays.
Yep, and twitch.tv/Billymfmays. It's as if I've had to type that for 6 years.
Yeah, so get on it, chat. Go and follow Billy. Show him some love and support. Tune in if you like non-ragey streams. But yeah, Wes, how about you promote yourself besides your 69 head?
Yeah, my name is Wes Sisa. I have a 60. Yeah, it's at 69 head. You can find me here in Lucid stream, in Loco's stream. I'm generally just around moderating streams that you follow. I'm sure of it. I don't have much to plug. You can find me on Twitch with the same name. You can find me on Twitter with the same name. I'm not super active on either. I'm not about that life.
Sure you aren't.
Well, okay, well, it depends. It depends.
How much do you like to doom scroll on Twitter these days?
Because
that's been the prohibiting factor for me on Twitter lately. It's just like, how much bad news am I going to have to deal with now before I can...
Yeah. Yeah, I mod for a politics stream in the morning. Mm-hmm. So, like, I do a few hours of politics with Lucid, and then I'm just like, Twitter? No. But Karli, you do a lot more than that. Tell us all about it.
All right. Hi, y'all. My name's Karli. I'm an animator in LA. I'm doing retake animation on Bless the Hearts for Fox right now. Basically, I just clean up animation that comes back from overseas wrong and make it look good. I also stream usually on Mondays and Wednesdays, but things have been a little weird since the earthquake from last week. Kind of really threw me off there. You can find me on twitter.com/KarliCartoons or twitch.com/KarliCartoons. I'm kind of just Karli Cartoons everywhere. I talk about art and animation a lot because that's kind of like what I do. But you can also see me in Loco's streams almost every single day because I mod for her and she's great. So, yeah.
And yeah,
can we shout out Morag again? Oh, sorry, Billy.
I was also going to say, you can also find me often in Simcopter 1's chat, Fruit Bats' chat, or Cleave's chat.
Get in their chat.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And big thank you to Morag in chat doing this production. So far, it's been fantastic. Such a relief because today was crazy for me. And I was not ready to do this. So big thanks. But yeah, if that's it for everybody, then we'll see y'all next week. And we'll see you tomorrow for different shows. But you'll find us in chat, just hanging out and moderating and banning y'all.
Absolutely, yes.
All right.
Speedrun ban, any %. Let's go. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.